Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it is Wednesday. It's August 5th. This will be our chart lesson for today, and I'm going to try to keep this one short today. I had a dentist appointment this late morning, and actually around just before lunchtime, and I had to have a root canal, and my jaw is really sore, uh, so it's not really affecting me able to talk, but it just you know how you feel when you've been to the dentist. And so I'm not feeling great this afternoon. Hopefully, I'm on the road to feeling better now, but seems like I get over one issue and I got another. But anyway, just to make a long story short, I'm going to try to keep this chart lesson short. And every time I say that, I end up with the longest one yet. So I'm going to try not to. I'm going to try not to do that today. So I'm going to try to keep it short. There's not a lot of trades today. This was a very I mean, we really were since really from maybe 2 a.m. my time. I mean, we're just straight across here. That's a clear range, and it kind of got tighter as the day went on. We had a little failed. Really, the highs were rather consistent. We had a little failed breakout here. Another one just before 3 o'clock. The lows did kind of tighten up as the day went on. They were really spent more time across here than they did down here, but you can see my blue line. I kept it down here where the more of the lows were, more consistent touches were. But there's just not a lot of trades today. So if you struggle today, I've had a lot of emails asking me what's wrong with the market. Well, nothing's really wrong with the market. This is relatively normal for this time of year. We've just been spoiled with the volatility we've had lately, and that volatility seems to be drying up. And my guess is there's a lot of traders taking vacation right before school starting back, and just with all that's going on, people are just probably taking a break, and some of the volatility's dying off. So we're just kind of getting back to normal. It feels like. So I know this doesn't feel normal for a lot of new people that have come in over the last years. While the volatility's just been exceptionally high, probably all-time highs. So this really feels slow, but this is kind of normal for this time. I've seen summers where it's like this all day, almost all summer long. So we've been blessed this summer really with a lot of movement and some easy trading, but it's not so easy when it gets like this. But anyway, I want to share something with you. A trader by the name of Bjorn, I believe I'm pronouncing that right, Bjorn, sent this to me. And this really solves all our problems. He sent me one indicator. When you install it, it actually turns out to be two, but it comes as one indicator. Well, and you can see it. He's named it BP Mac Part 1, and actually it's just called BP Mac. And when you install it, it looks like one indicator, but you end up with two pieces here. And you can see that. And I've also got the indicator, and this one you can't see is actually the news guard that I have on here. So really you end up only needing three indicators, because this is really one indicator in two pieces. So, and what that'll do is it'll add all of our usual stuff, and you can see my chart's looking really good now. It adds the I forget what this is called, where time trading time or whatever, where it breaks. This is the 8:30 open, and this is 2 o'clock, and you can set this to whatever you want. I just like to set this to 2 because that's when I like to stop trading, and it makes it real easy to see the white's the part I trade in there, and that's 8:30 a.m. Central Standard Time to 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. And if you get a trade 2:05 right into the first 5 or so minutes, by all means you can take it if you get a good setup. Don't be afraid to take one. Just much after that, I wouldn't take one, because what happens is you don't have a lot of time left, and a lot of times you'll get stuck in a trade because your broker's going to kick you out. Some of them will kick you out a little bit before 3. Most of them by 3 o'clock. They're going to kick you out if you're not out, because of the margin issue. If you stay in past 3:15, then you can't have day trader status and day trader margins, and that becomes a problem. So most of your brokers are going to kick you out, and some of them kick you out sooner than others. So, and plus, the big thing is if you ever make a mistake and have a loser this late in the day, you don't have time to make it up. Where if you have one early in the morning or midday, you got all day or at least half a day to make it up. So keep that in mind. So it adds the trading time. It adds the closing price from yesterday. It adds the 8:30 opening price from today. And there was a gap there that we didn't fill today. So that's kind of interesting. It adds the tick counter over here. It's big and bold and it easy to see, as you can see. It also adds the bid-ask prices there just so you can see them. I haven't had them on my chart lately, but I like to see those, and he's added that back for us. What else is on here? Trying to remember. I think that's pretty much it. That's most of the things we like to look at. So you get all the basic stuff that we like. You do have to add the news item separately. And I also added this tick counter down here just to watch it, to see if it matches up, and it does. So you don't really need this one. I always had it on my old chart, so I just put it on this one too, and really just to kind of verify that they're matching up and look the same. When I first started using NT8, and I may end up taking that one off. You don't really need it. So I will actually upload this indicator, this new indicator, to the site. For anybody that's members, you can download it for free if you're a member of our premium section. So it'll be there. I doubt I'm going to get to it today, but as soon as I can, I will upload that for you, and it'll be available. And this will make it real easy for everybody to make their chart look just like mine. And you get all the indicators there. And so thanks to Bjorn for sending this to me and setting it all up and making it real easy for us. And it works, and doesn't seem to be any bugs in it. The only thing I've noticed that I hadn't been able to change is for some reason it adds this little red touch to the yellow line. I'd like to be able to get rid of that. And Bjorn, if you're watching tonight, if you look at this, I can't remember which one this is in. I think it's in this one. I'm not sure. I want to see yesterday's close, and I want to see I'll show you something else I almost forgot about too. But I'm not sure why it adds that red. It has something to do with, if you look here, there's a dash and a dot, the two styles. And for some reason I can't change the color of the dot, and so it just kind of, so I don't quite understand that. So Bjorn, if you're watching and you could maybe explain why you have, I'm not sure what the difference between plot style and dash style is. I like the dash. As you can see, it's just the dash out here, but for some reason in parts of it, it adds this red dot on top of it. And I can't figure out if I make it hash, it just gets darker. So I don't know. I can't figure out what that is and why I can't get it to. I'm not sure what that is, so maybe Bjorn can explain that to me, and maybe we can do something with that. But the other thing is the pat risk is in there as well. So if you click on this, like bar, there it is. There's your bar size and ticks. You can see there's 9 ticks in that bar. And if you were to trade that bar, it adds the other 2 ticks to it as well. So because your stop goes 1 tick below and your exit and your entry is 1 tick above, so it'll add 2 ticks at. So it tells you your total risk will be $137.50 there. And that's pretty cool. So thanks to Bjorn for creating this for us. It's real simple. It gives us all the tools we want to use and see. And you just install one indicator basically. And again, it'll put 2 in your, it'll add 2 of them here, and you just set them both up to your liking. He's pretty much got them already set up. So anyway, let's get on to the chart lesson. Okay, again, we had this big move up and then we just went sideways, and we've kind of done this a lot lately. The last few days, I mean, we've been spiking up and going into a channel usually, and today we just spiked up and went into a range. And so really up until about here, that gives this kind of an upward bias. After that point, it was really fairly flat, but we still had kind of an upward bias until this failed breakout, and then we kind of, and then we just didn't do much at all. I mean, you got to be careful trying to trade this. You really only can trade a failed breakout. We had one to the low side and one to the high side. So that started around 11 o'clock, a little bit before 11, maybe a little after 10:30, between 10:30 and 11, and that lasted almost all day. And you just can't trade that except until you break out like this. And generally, you're going to be fading that. And when I say fade, I mean you're taking an entry in the opposite direction. So yeah, I know I've used that word in one of our manuals, and I probably should have explained that better because many people are not sure what I mean by fade. And I forget that, that's more of a, especially people that speak other languages, it really confuses them. So, and I just didn't think about that when I did it, and I've been meaning to correct it, and I never have. So, but let me back out a little bit here, and we'll talk about these trades. But 7 o'clock came right in here. I'm trying to make this a little bit bigger where it's easier to see. But 7 o'clock came right in here, and this bar is just, look at this bar. This bar is like, it's a $212.50 bar, and and it's got a huge stem. You just don't want to trade that. And really, it's not, the signal bar is here, so you can't trade it anyway. So there's really no setup there that you want to trade. So you just have to sit here and wait, and then you don't really get a long down here. You get a higher low, but that signal bar is too bearish. And then finally, you run up here and you get a first entry and you get a second. Actually, let me back up. You run up here and you push right through the EMA, and then you break lower and turn up and go out. That's a higher low on what is still an upward bias at this point. And even if you're looking at it, this is a range. We just bounced off the support, and you still got plenty of room back. You got to be careful in the middle of a range, but this still has an upward bias. And this doesn't feel so much like a range just yet. So I like going long right there. It breaks lower and turns up. Just go long when it breaks above it. I don't think I would wait till here. Again, that bar is, it's 14-point bar, so it's a 200 risk trade, close to the high. So I wouldn't enter it right there. It's just too big. And I don't know if it would have worked if you'd have went long there either. So but the way you enter this is on the engulfing bar when it breaks lower first, and so when it's coming back, I'd already have a buy stop one tick above this bearish bar. So if it breaks above it, it sweeps you into the trade, and it instantly turns down and gives you a second entry short back up here near the highs. And so if you're not in long, sometimes it's hard to switch gears like that, but if you can do it, there's a great second entry short right there. There's actually a lower high right here. I didn't mark it because by the time you do, there's 3 bars stacked up, and this is congestive. But we're still working back to the lows, so it's one that you might take. I didn't mark it. I think it's a little bit too congestive, but I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to mark it all the same as green, just in case. And you see it continue to go sideways, so it's definitely congestion. It ends up dropping on down. And at this point, this line, your support would have been down here. So it looks like you got plenty of room. In the end, I'm moving it back up to here because that's where we end up getting more of your support as the day goes on. So you may take that trade. It's a little risky though. And then we bounce, and notice we got a little double bottom, so a new low, and you go short first entry, second entry, it fails. So there's a failed second entry short there on what looks like a reversal off the lows, going back to the highs. So I like entering there. It turns out it's only good for a scalp, and it pulls back again and then turns up, but you can't enter right here. There's no setup. And then you're just in congestion back close to this high, so no setup here. And you're just stuck in congestion here, and you don't want to trade this stuff. There's actually, I don't have it on here. You can see all that support across there, and all the support across the highs. And we get some breakouts, but you don't really get a very good setup. You might consider this as a short here, but you really need to wait on a lower high because it made a new high. Whenever you're breaking out or moving up and you make a newer high, even though it's close to this resistance, generally you'll be better off to wait on a lower high because a lot of times it'll keep going higher. It might push up one more time or two more times. And so by waiting on a lower high, you get a little more evidence that it's going lower. And you might have looked at this. Notice that new low, first entry, second entry. You could have looked at that as a failed second entry short, but it's right back into those highs right there. And it turns out to be a nice move, but you just don't know that in advance, and so it's really just too hard to take a trade there. But we move on up and we break out the top. There's your lower high. You still got plenty of room. On a range day, you're going to have to enter into the EMA. You still something you always want to be concerned about. But you got a little room right there on a failed breakout. But when it tries to go higher that third time, I mean, really we try to go higher once, twice, three, four times. And that's a nice bearish bar. So normally I'd tell you I'd be a little concerned about that. But trying to go that higher that many times when we've been in this range, and it's a pretty consistent range, I think you're all right to go short there. Then you come back and you try to go higher again and you test that. I don't have my line on there. But you can see that resistance right there. And we came back and had a little double test, and it breaks higher and fails and turns down. You can go short either way, either one tick below that one. If it broke higher, I'm not positive this broke higher. I think it did, but I'm not 100% positive. But you can wait till that closes and just go short one tick. That's plenty bearish. And this one finally drops and we move lower. There's another lower high here, but you're just too close to the lows now. Don't enter there. Then we're stuck in another one of these, and notice we get a little failed breakout, and that's a really nice bullish bar a long way away. But again, you probably want to wait on the higher low. I wouldn't be afraid to take that trade, but you really need to be careful with those. And then you get the higher low here, and you're back inside the range. That's the better, more likely trade. And then, of course, the only problem with this one right here is you don't have enough room to get out before here. And notice where it bounces right at that support line where it's been. And so you would have probably had a one tick failure on that. It would have gotten 4 ticks and failed on you and stopped you out. So you just have to you got to make sure you got enough. Now here's something that you might do. If you let this break lower and dropped a limit order a couple of ticks back to give you room to get out, you might take that trade. Now we did push through here too, and sometimes that'll clean it on out, but as you see, it didn't this time. So when you're in a range this tight, you got to be really careful, and you got to get in as close to these edges as you can. And here's a good example. You can get in really close up here, and it still bounces and goes higher. Of course, you have to look at the big picture that we just came off the lows. So where are we most likely headed? Back to the highs. So that should not surprise you that we did go higher out of here, because that's what you would expect to happen. Because that's the bias is back to the upside because we just came off the lows. And so that's what you would expect to happen. Prices, if they're going to get out of here successfully, they're probably going to run on up here and test this high, and then they'll come back and test the lows again. That's what prices do. So if you did go short right here, there's one thing too to notice on this one. Of course, you see that on a couple of these, but this one looks a little more congestive because you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bars, and 1, 2, 3, 4 of them really have no bodies. And so that makes it a little different. Anytime you got three or more and one of them doesn't have a body, because like this one right here, that's even congestion. So that's another reason to stay out of that one, just not even the fact that you don't have enough room to get back down to here. So, um, and that the fact that this broke higher and turned and couldn't go back through that side, that's another warning sign. It runs up and we have that little failed break higher. It comes down, big bearish bar. I marked this one green. On this one, you try to go higher once, or you go high here, you try once, twice, and really you test that really multiple times there, 3 or 4 bars at least. And that is a second entry short, although we don't care much about actually the second entry shorts here. This is just a continuation of it. So, but anyway, you might go short there. I think you're better off to wait on the lower high, and you just don't get one. You get one here. And if you've got a good setup, a good bar here, maybe even after 2 o'clock, right there, just 5 minutes after, I'd probably say you could take that, but you don't get a setup. And so that's really it. There were not a lot of trades today. All your safest trades are going to be longs off the lows and shorts off the highs. Anything in the middle can be suspect. So it's just not as reliable. So this was not an easy day. I mean, it's not the hardest day we've had, but it's not an easy day either. And I'm well over 20 minutes, and my jaw's not feeling so good right now. So I am going to wrap this up. There's another look at it from a little further out. I really like the new indicator, Bjorn. I mean, you can see those numbers. They're big and bold. You can see the bid ask. I really like the pat risk there. Tells you how much you're risking on every trade on the signal bar. See, like that big, huge bar right there. You're risking $275 to trade that trade. That's per contract too, so make sure you understand that. But yeah, I'll get this posted to the site. We'll see if Bjorn can straighten me out on this, tell me what this is, or maybe find some way to adjust it. And so I may wait to hear from him. I'll probably email him, just ask him. But he'll probably see the video and send it on. And I just wanted to say too, I got a lot of you sent me different indicators, so I've got a dozen of almost every indicator for NT8 now. But I'm leaning towards this one because it's real simple and it adds everything we want in one simple indicator. You got to load one indicator and you got it all, except for the news. You don't get the news item with it. But other than that, you pretty much get it all. And I just think it's great, and I really appreciate Bjorn creating it and sending it to me and offering me to let me share it with all of you as well. So many thanks to him. But I'm going to wrap it up. We'll be back again tomorrow and wrap up our week. Believe it or not, another week's gone by. But we'll be back tomorrow. Hopefully my jaw will be feeling a little better tomorrow. Maybe I'll be sore tomorrow. I don't know, but I'm pretty sore right now. So we'll see how I feel tomorrow. But I'm going to wrap it up. I'll see you tomorrow. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next